One of the 2014 CARB Hall of Fame induction interviews, and we are going to be talking about Jack Cunningham, and we've got his two sons here, the oldest son being John and the youngest son being Frank. So we're going to talk a little bit about Jack here, and boy, it sounds like an interesting time that you guys had, plus your dad had a tremendous career in racing. And John, I guess we're going to talk to you first, because you being the oldest, you had the opportunity to be around your dad a lot with the midget. And then Frank, you had the opportunity to come on board a little bit later when he started getting into the sprint car stuff. But first of all, John, I want to know, I read one of the bios, and it talked about your dad owned a shop. I think it was a transmission shop.
Yeah, sure did.
And one day, two guys pulled in there with a couple of midgets on the trailer, and it really stirred your dad's interest. That's more or less how I got started. Ever got that developed, that interest?
Yeah, I probably got, him and the guy he worked with, Kenny Barrett, and Popwell, George Popwell, was his father-in-law, and I guess him and Kenny used to, like my brother said, he used to go to Olympic Stadium, and I guess Popwell was the one that put the money up. Actually put the money up for the first car.
Always got to have the money, don't we?
He was the one that put the money up, so I think eventually, is the way I understand it, he wanted his money back, and Kenny was going to sell the car out from under Jack. So I guess Jack ended up getting the money some way to pay both of them back. You know, where he could end up with the race car himself.
Still not a real auspicious beginning, because from what I understand, he showed up at Olympic Stadium, and first of all, they weren't going to let him into pits because he was an outsider. And then when he did get into pits, nobody would talk to him. A pretty close-knit group.
Yeah, it was back then. It sure was.
I mean, did they all have big secrets to hide, or what was it?
Well, I think they were just suspicious of a new guy coming in, maybe picking up something from them, you know, and Dad was kind of a outspoken kind of guy anyway, so, you know, he said what was on his mind, in other words. So he probably didn't, you know, hit it off with him real well at first. But,
and I think you have to remember, during this era, this might not be the exact term we need to use, but I'm going to call them homemade cars, and that each individual pretty well put it together himself. And a lot of the success that a lot of these early guys had was little things that they tweaked or did that made the car faster.
So that's right.
Well, I think back then it'd be kind of like a race driver going to a strange racetrack. He's actually, even though he's got the experience, he's still actually a rookie on that racetrack. So it's kind of like when Jack went there at Olympic, you know, he was kind of like a rookie
car owner.
He was a rookie car owner, and you know, they kind of shied away from him until they found out if he was really going to race with us, or if he just come down to play or something.
Right, exactly.
You know,
looking to see if something fell off the car.
They didn't,
Hope he's got that thing together.
they didn't
rookie, you know.
Well, like my brother said, they wanted to make sure, you know, that there wasn't something going to, you know, Vito Khalil wanted to make sure that, you know, that it wasn't something going to get in the way of him while he was racing.
Didn't want to bother them. It's okay if you go out there and play around, but don't bother us.
Don't bother us,
That's kind of the way it was, I think, back then. You know, they wanted to make sure that you was really heads up on what you was going to do.
Right. Some of the tracks that you guys, your dad started running at was Lakeside, Olympic, Riverside, Topeka, Knoxville, Shawnee, Clinton, which I didn't even know Clinton never had a track, but anyway, Savannah, and I've got one more here, but I can't read it. But anyway, still, Indy Power Dome, Indy Speed Dome, I'm sorry, that's what it was. But man, that's did a little traveling too, didn't he?
Yeah, he sure did. Well, he also run Denver, Inkwood Park in Denver, you know, and he run Washington actually, and
Washington,
D.C.
Oh, really?
Yeah, him and Willie Hunsaker was a race driver here in Kansas City. Him and Willie went back there. And that was the USAC midget race, and they ran that.
Actually, might add this, he ran the midget at Knoxville in 1959.
Really?
Sure did.
With Who drove it in '59?
Roger Lane was
Roger
there.
Lane.
And we got there the night before, and Joey Chitwood was there.
Wow.
The thrill show.
The thrill show.
I got to see. That's the only time I ever seen it. I got to see Joey Chitwood. That was the Friday night show. We run Saturday.
Yeah.
And the midgets, the midgets running.
Now this was a midget show.
Midget show at
Midget
Knoxville.
show.
Yeah.
At Knoxville.
Wow.
Yeah, sure was. That's first. 59 was the first time I was up there.
I
And
think it was a USAC midget show.
I'll be darned.
Yeah,
Yeah, it was.
USAC
It was a
show.
USAC
And,
midget show.
I can remember being up there as me, Dad, and Roger Lane, and Roger just said this place is really fast, and it looked fast.
Yeah.
I remember going through the pit gate and going there and going to the infield to unload and looking at that place, and it just reminded me of something I've never seen before. It was just a huge place, and I couldn't imagine these little cars being on there. But they were really quick.
As another race car driver told me recently, each track had its own personality.
Yep.
And like you say, if you've ever been to Knoxville, I'm not sure there's another track like it
Oh, absolutely. not.
anywhere.
No.
The dirt, the radius of the turns.
Right.
Yeah.
I remember the first when we went up there in '67 with the race car. I'd never seen anything like Knoxville, but I found out in a hurry it's a really fast racetrack.
Without a doubt.
And you respected that racetrack.
Yeah.
You definitely did, or you were going to take a ride and go all the way out of the place.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say they didn't have the fences back then. That first year I went and seen Levitt run up there, the fences weren't anything close to what they are now.
Well, it was just mainly a board front straightaway when it's up there in 59. The track was about the same. I believe Marion Robinson, which was he had 3 other tracks that him and his wife were promoting at the same time, and I believe he was the one that put that USAC midget race on, promoted that race. And another thing I won't ever forget about him, he said that he told me, I said, well, what he run a stock car race or something up there in Iowa someplace. He said his wife used to drive a water truck, water the racetrack. I never forgot that. I don't know why. But
Funny how some things stand out of your mind.
Yeah, they stick out.
About racing.
Don't happen nowadays. So I don't think.
But
one of those little quirks.
Yeah.
Well, and another thing too, he promoted a USAC stock car race on a Friday night in the '70s. Remember that, Frank? And me and Carl and Dad went up there, and he actually got A.J. Foyt to come up there.
I'll be darned. Wow.
And yeah, he got Foyt ended up going up there.
By the mid-'50s, your dad's car is really being a really sought-after ride by many race car drivers. Just to name a few of them that I have, and I know you guys have already mentioned many more since I've been here, but I've got Larson, Chenault, Williams, is it Burdick?
Yeah, Bill Burdick.
Burdick, McVeigh, Walter, Tattersall, Goodwin, Dozier, and Williams.
Yeah.
I mean, let's write a who's who here.
He had. Well, we sat down one time in the office, and he was naming off the guys he had and all that stuff, and we ended up that he'd had 72 different drivers.
Oh my gosh!
Between the sprint car and the midget.
And this was not a terribly long career.
No. He had the midget from 1951 to 1966, and then we had the sprint car from 67, 68, 69, 3 years.
Yeah.
So, and he had 72 drivers, and we figured out that 14 of them had drove in the Indy 500.
In the Indy 500. Not an uncommon thing in those days. I mean, you won't see that now.
You won't see it now, no. Back then, yeah, they were driving midget sprint cars, dirt cars, whatever.
Yeah.
Had 4 wheels and a steering wheel.
Yeah. Either one of you can answer this, but did your dad have a favorite driver? I mean, was there one guy he kind of really would like to have in the car? In other words, if he showed up at a track and there were 3 or 4 guys that had driven there for him, was there one that he would pick over the other?
Well, I think all he thought back then was he wanted the guy that
could win the race.
Stand on it and win the race. He didn't care who he was.
Yeah. Didn't make no difference.
Didn't make any difference. I think he just wanted the guy to stand on the gas. I think that's really the way that's the way he was there, to win the race.
Well,
and,
really, this wasn't any difference in the drivers, because the drivers were the same way. They wanted to drive a car they thought could win.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So
absolutely.
they were all after the same thing, and they traded cars back and forth a lot. So
yeah,
wasn't an uncommon practice. Okay, no favorite driver. In '54, running with the KCMARA Midget Series with Judd Larson driving, he wins the championship. Now I presume this was Olympic,
That was Riverside.
Riverside.
I think he won, what, 5, John? 4 or 5?
Yeah, 4 or 5.
Yeah, he won 4 or 5 features.
I mean, how much more of a legendary name can you get from Kansas City than Judd
Oh,
Larson?
Judd was, you know, and he came to the house. I still remember that. He worked for Greenleaf's Cadillac.
Oh, did he?
Selling Cadillac. In fact, I got a card signed by him, Christmas card he sent. But he came over to the house one day driving a Volkswagen.
Okay.
This is Big Judd in a Volkswagen. He drove all the way around the house. Drove all the way around the house and
Which
parked it
was,
in
hard
front
to
of the
do.
front porch. And he gets out with his cowboy boots on. And he comes in and says, "What are you doing, Cunny?" I think Dad said, "Hey, you want to get that thing off my front porch?" But that's the way Judd, he did that hearty, big Texan laugh.
Yeah.
But yeah, he was my favorite. He was my favorite.
Uh-huh.
And I asked my mom that question one time. I said, "Who was your favorite?" And she said, "Judd Larson." So
Yeah.
2 out of the family.
Yeah.
I'm sure Dad was kind of attached to him too,
Yeah.
because he'd give you 100% every time you got in a race car.
Yeah.
I think the guy, if he wouldn't have been a race car driver, he could have been an artist.
Yeah, he
Oh,
was.
really?
He was a good artist.
Beautiful.
He could
His
draw,
artwork
like,
was.
yeah.
He could draw anything. He'd sit down and take an act, and then he'd draw people, and he put scenery around it. The guy could have been an artist.
I'll be darned.
Handwriting and stuff was just fantastic.
Yeah.
He was real good at drawing stuff.
Like I just said a while ago, every time I do one of these, I learn something else. Never heard that about Judd.
Oh yeah.
In that 54 season, well, I guess it'd be you, John. Was there anything else you remember from that, or?
Oh, that was kind of a highlight there. There was probably some guys in between and stuff, but Judd was just really tough to beat. The season was, just a real good season. Everything came together, and he had a guy that did real good. The wheel work was real good.
Uh-huh.
So, like I said, it was just a real good season.
Can you remember from being around your dad in the shop? I mean, it's evident that your dad's cars had success regardless pretty much of who drove them, but do you remember anything in particular that your dad did to the cars that made them so good? I mean, was it good maintenance that he kept up on the cars? Did he have a skill at technology about doing stuff, or?
He had a curiosity. He wanted to know. He'd take things apart, like a fuel pump. He'd take it apart because he wanted to see how it worked. And he was real diligent about looking things over. I think maintenance was the main thing. He wanted to make sure the car was, everything was bolted down, everything was fastened, everything was supposed to be where it's supposed to be. Because, he had very few mechanical breakdowns.
Yeah. So that's a difference in a points championship, as far as I'm concerned. You got to be there every night.
He was real meticulous on going through the whole car, bumper to bumper, to make sure everything was tight, and there wasn't anything loose, ready to fall off or anything like that. And I think that really was a credit to him.
Yeah.
But he was a good mechanic. That's the next thing. He was a mechanic. He did it for a living, which really helped him out when he got on the race car. Because but he was real meticulous about,
I was going to say there had to be something there that was not, you could see with the naked eye, but that he was doing with the cars that made them run and do what they did.
Well, I remember if you come around the car when he was working on it, he'd run you off.
Oh, really?
No, he'd want you, messing around. I'm working on the race car. Go do something else. Go pull your wagon or something. Chase the dog or something. Get out of here. I'm busy.
Okay.
So.
Okay. 56, 57 is also a pretty good year for the race car team, and there again, just a lot of success. John, can you tell us about 56, 57?
Yeah, it was a lot like the past years, I would say. Just real, about the same. I think Clyde Palmer was driving a little bit
Palmer drove
from California.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Did he move here to this area? He surely wasn't commuting.
No, he came back here for a summer.
Okay.
And he went. When he did real good. Actually, he beat Judd Larson a couple of times.
Oh, wow.
I found articles on him with this here. He actually beat Judd Larson a couple of times at Riverside. And so
I kind of looked like Clark Gable.
Did he really?
Yeah, a little pencil line mustache and the dark hair.
And he went on to run NASCAR and he won a couple NASCAR races later on
Wow,
in his
okay,
career.
yeah.
And he is a Hall of Famer in California.
Uh-huh.
So
I hadn't heard the name before, but boy.
real good,
Yeah.
real good race car driver.
He was a good race car driver.
real good race car driver.
We're going to move on to 59, and there again, the team is the points champion at Olympic Stadium. Can you remember, John, who the driver was?
Roger Lane.
Yeah, Frank was starting to hang
I was
around.
starting to go a little bit
Yeah,
more
Frank,
then.
yeah,
That was
Yeah.
Roger Lane.
Was this before or after the girls?
We hadn't found the girls yet.
This was before.
No, that's before the girls.
Okay, this was
Yeah, I was
before
about
the
9 then, I
girls.
was
Okay.
Yeah.
You kind of shied away from the girls. Yeah, I remember 59 being a really good year. Roger was real consistent. He'd finish, like second, third.
Uh-huh.
The car was always in like the top 5, and he did a really nice job. I mean, Roger Lane was a nice guy, but he was a good race car driver
Yeah.
too. But yeah, he really did a good job for Dad
Yeah.
in 59 in the car. We had a lot of success.
Remember anything, John, you want to add to that?
It just everything just come together.
Yeah.
And he did a good job, and in between there, somewhat, I think Buddy Cagle was driving it just a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but
About the same time, and boy, Cagle was really good.
Yeah.
And he was out of the John Zink camp in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and about that time, Cagle was really good. And I don't know how many races Cagle won, but he won a lot during.
Buddy Cagle drove a lot.
Yeah,
that time period, yeah.
Cagle during that period there, Buddy Cagle drove the car a lot,
Yeah.
and he was also really good.
66, St. Louis Midget Champ. What track and who was driving up there? And there again, was this a weekly deal, or was this once a month, or?
This was the 66 St. Louis Racing Association.
Uh-huh.
He won the owner. They give the owner to get a trophy, so was the driver. I think Dwight Brown won the driver part. He didn't drive for my dad, but my dad won the car owner championship,
Right.
which was the whole year. He ran all those races down in St. Louis. So the car got all the points. So so he actually won that.
So it was multiple drivers?
Right.
More than one?
More than one, yeah.
Now, what track was it? See, I didn't even know St. Louis had a track.
2 or 3, didn't they? He ran 2 or 3 different tracks in St. Louis, didn't they?
They run
What was
St.
that
Charles.
one?
They run St. Charles.
Yeah, St. Charles.
Valley Park. They
Valley
run
Park.
asphalt. They run several races.
Oh, really? Mixed it up?
So
with
they had 2 or 3 different tracks.
And Granite,
in St.
they
Louis
run
area.
Granite City,
Oh,
Illinois.
did you? Okay.
Yeah, Granite City.
Yeah, Granite City, Illinois, St. Charles, Belleville, Illinois,
Yeah.
and Valley Park probably sticks out the most. I think we run it quite a bit.
And he had Joe Walter was the driver.
Joe Walters was,
He's the one
Bill
who drove the
Walters was driving it a little bit, and Bill Burdick also was driving it a little bit during that time. But like I said, it was kind of a season. They put together down there like they had in Kansas City.
Okay.
In order to get it, and they had a pretty good field of cars, didn't they, Frank?
Yeah, they did.
Arnie Knapper.
Know that name for sure.
Bob Winnie.
Bob
Yeah,
Winnie,
Winnie.
Winnie, what he went on to him and his son, I think, promoted races at Granite City where they run, and Granite City had a quarter-mile and a half-mile.
Yeah.
And we, during that, to win that championship, you run on both of those, along with, run a little bit of payment. But, and a guy named Gus Somm, that had USAC dirt cars and stuff, he had a midget at the time. And I think Fry was driving for him, wasn't he?
Danny Fry was driving.
Yeah, Danny Fry was driving for him. So win a championship back then, it wasn't.
I was going to say,
It was no real easy order.
no giveaways.
They had some guys back there, that had some pretty good cars. They had that Zero Candy Bar car. I can't remember who drove that, Frank, but
Don't remember that one.
Fry drove it a little bit. But like I said, they had some pretty good
They had
cars.
some good cars and drivers.
Yeah, they had some.
Sounds like a lot of competition. And once again, was this weekly?
Yeah.
So he commuted to?
Yeah, he went to St. Louis. Yeah.
Wow.
Probably run, I think, Saturday night most of the time.
I
Sometimes
guess-
Sunday afternoon.
I was going to say, I guess the transmission shop wasn't open on the
It wasn't
weekend.
open on the weekend.
No,
No, he was off. he was off to St. Louis.
Now, did he pack all you guys up and away you went, mom and dad?
I don't remember going much in '66. I was 16. That's when the girls started.
Oh,
coming in.
here we go with the girls. Man, they'll ruin everything, won't they?
I can go back and do that over again. I'd go racing. It's a better
Cost
bet.
less?
Yeah, it costs less. It's a better bet.
He could have had 2 race cars. He told
Yeah, I
me.
could have had 2 by now.
2 new ones, he said.
Not good.
Not good.
Not good.
Okay.
I hope there's no females at this party we want to.
Okay, after 66, your dad sells out the midget race team.
Yeah.
And did you guys think it was over? I mean, did he say, well, that's it, I'm done, I've had
Well,
it?
actually, I talked to him after he sold the midget, and he said, that's it. I'm not going to race anything again. But he gets a phone call from Rayleigh Goodwin.
Mm-hmm.
Rayleigh Goodwin calls him up and says, hey, Jack, I know this car I've been driving for Luther Brewer. He says, for sale. Luther's building a new car, and he wants to sell the old car. My dad, oh, no, I don't want no part of it. Oh, no, okay. Somehow Rayleigh talked him into it, and we went out to Drexel, where he lived, ended up buying the car. Rayleigh drove it for the first, 4 or 5 races we owned it, until the other car got done. And actually, he won, I don't know, 3 or 4 of them, I think.
Yeah, Luther actually brought it to Topeka for the first night.
Oh, he did?
Yeah.
He brought it there.
Well, that's where we picked it up.
Yeah.
It won that night.
I was going to
The
say.
night that he actually took possession of the car, we won the
Rayleigh
feature
just
at
said,
Topeka.
if you buy the car, I'll win the first night.
And he did.
Yeah, he did.
And then we're coming back that night with the car, and we're just all excited. We won the first race. We own the car now. We're all talking. There's me and Carl, Paul, and Dad, and we're going down I-70 heading back toward Kansas City. And all of a sudden, I look in the rearview mirror, and the trailer in the car is starting to he come off the hitch. It's coming up beside us. I go, oh, this isn't good. Whoa. So Carl says, step on it. So I pulled way up, and then I had to get in front. We just had to let it bounce off the back of the truck till we
my goodness.
till we got it slowed down where we could hook it back up. Yeah, we thought we're going to lose the car the first night we buy it.
Yeah. Then there's no tow vehicles. You're talking about a passenger car.
Yeah, we were towing it with a Ford truck.
Oh, okay.
In fact, it was the 707 Truck Stops service truck, and we were towing it with that. But I guess we didn't get it, in all of our excitement, we didn't get the clamp down, and safety chain's the only thing that kept it from going on its own.
Thank goodness for the safety.
Yeah, that's what we said. Thank goodness for that safety chain.
Just out of curiosity, I hadn't put this question down, but do you guys know what he paid for that?
$3,500.
Yeah.
He paid $3,500.
Then that's motor.
That's car, trailer, all the spares,
trailer,
wheels, tires, everything. Can you got the fuel cans?
Yeah, and I'd buy a set of tires now. Maybe.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. On some cars,
maybe the tires in the trailer.
Maybe.
And maybe just the trailer. I don't.
Yeah.
It sure wouldn't go very far.
$3,500. I still
Wow.
remember that.
Yeah, me and Frank were talking the other day. We just said we was glad that he got the race when he did, because don't see how it could happen nowadays.
Oh no.
Working for a living, it'd be awful hard to do it nowadays.
Without a doubt that things have changed. Things have
Drastically.
changed. Yeah. Still, the best is yet to come. I mean, you win the first night, and things are going pretty good with Rayleigh, but then Knoxville's coming up, and you decide to go to Knoxville. And I'm going to out-talk to you, Frank, about this, because you were just telling me earlier about, your dad just thought he had an omen that they shouldn't go, and this wasn't right, and this was happening, and that's an omen. And tell us a little bit about that.
The thing was, after Rayleigh, quit driving the car, he recommended Thad Dozier. We thought, Thad Dozier, we'd never heard of the guy. And so we met Rayleigh over at Riverside one night, and he introduced us to him. Mm-hmm. And we looked at him and we thought, man, I don't know. So, but Rayleigh said, no, this guy, he's due.
Yeah.
He's due to win something. So my dad said, okay. So he drove the car, I don't know, John, 4 or 5 times before Knoxville?
Well, Carl called and said they got a race at Jeff City, Missouri on a Wednesday night. This would be a good place to take Thad.
Yeah.
And let's see how he does.
See what he can do.
See what he does before we take him to knoxville or something. So we take him down there, and before the feature, I think they fired him 3 times. So
you mean fired like you're done?
Yeah, you're done. Carl says, well, we need to give him a chance, and Jack says, well, we got the Nationals coming. We got some big races coming up here. And There was a lot said, wasn't there?
Oh, yeah. Well, you know, that Saturday, or no, what was it, Wednesday, he was sitting down at the desk there, and we were supposed to be leaving to go to Knoxville for the Nationals. And Mom came out and said, well, you know, Thad just called, and he's on his way up there and all that. And Dad, I'm not going. Mom said, what? What do you mean you're not going? Thad's on his way. Yeah, you're going. And they got into it a little bit and all that stuff, and finally she come down there and says, look, you're going. Yeah, okay. You know, he was enthused because of what he'd seen down in Jeff City. He wasn't impressed with. Plus, he knew there'd be a lot of cars, you know, from all over the country and all that stuff. But anyway, and I talked him into it too. I said, oh, come on, you know, all that stuff. And like I said, we were going up 35, and we were towing with a 62 Oldsmobile, and the right rear blew out. And when we pulled over to the side of the road, he goes, I told you, there's a bad omen. It's a bad, we're not supposed to go. I said, yeah, we are. And I got out, I hopped out, got the jack, changed the tire, and we headed on up there. And then when we got up there, he kind of peered over the fence, you know, to the infield, and he said, we ain't got a chance. We ain't got a chance. I said, oh, let's go and have some fun anyway. We're here, you know. We're going to unload the car. And like I said, during hot laps, Dozier didn't look like he was going fast, although he was, because he was just driving around the racetrack. And we're impressed. We thought, well, we might have a chance now. And then the first night, he won everything.
Wow.
The heat race, the feature, and everything. And up until the funny thing about it, up until that point, Ray Lee Goodman's name was on the car.
Oh, really?
I'll never forget. But after we won everything the first night, the next day we went to Des Moines to wash the car at the car wash, and he says, get a piece of tape and put that on it. So I took a piece of tape and took a magic marker and put that Dozier. Up until then, he wasn't going to take Ray Lee's name off, I guess. I don't know. But, you know, and then, of course, we won the race, which was, to me, like winning the Indy 500. It was that, because I'll never forget when Dozier finally went past the checkered flag, and he come back around and he parked the car on the front straightaway. And they're letting people through the gate, and they just surrounded the car, and to a point where I couldn't even get to it. I was pushing through the crowd, trying to get up to where the race car was. But it was that's probably, if people ask, the most exciting thing, that was it. That was it for me.
Well, I presume your dad was the same way. I mean, he had to be thrilled.
Oh, yeah,
he was. That was big time.
Absolutely. And I remember, you know, Luther Brewer, he come down there. He was, and his wife was even crying.
Oh, really?
I think probably crying because they didn't own the car anymore. But
well, Luther really should have got one.
Yeah,
Luther really should have won one himself. And we talked about it, and he since sent me a letter of all the races, both him and Jack did together. What the car won. The car ought to be in the Hall of Fame by itself for what it all did, But he was ecstatic because, you know, he had such a good opportunity a couple times and it slipped away. So he was glad we got it. Yeah. And like I said, it was just what Thad did was just short of fantastic. He did a good job both nights driving the car.
Not that familiar with. I mean, let's face it, different tracks, different car. And then, man, you are there with the best in sprint car racing at that time.
Oh, yeah, they were
in the United States.
Well, Frank, wasn't Don Edmonds there?
Yeah.
Yeah, the car builder from California was there. With the car
Larry
was
Cannon.
Larry Cannon was there.
A lot of really. I think Kenny Wells was there, wasn't he?
Yeah, Kenny was there. Kenny won his feature the Friday night.
Yeah.
And like Frank said. I didn't go to Des Moines. The next we went
Saturday? The next Sunday.
Next Sunday.
Des Moines, they had a race up to the State Fair. We won that one.
Yeah, wow.
So we were on a roll.
We were on a streak.
We were on a roll.
Yeah. 68 is no let up because Tiger Bob Williams comes on board, and one of the big wins, and we'll just cover one of them for 68, was the Southwest Championship in Amarillo. And Bob goes down there and pulls that thing off.
Yeah, that was. I think John, you went for that, didn't you?
Yeah,
John was down there.
Yeah, he did. He did a real good job, and like I said, like I was showing you in that article, you know, he actually in his qualifying deal, he got all the points he could get for the first night. You know, so. Yeah, I don't know exactly. I can't remember exactly where Bobby Ward was, but Ward ended up on the front row with us.
We won a car too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, The only thing I can remember, Jack just said he told Bob, if you got to pressure him, don't get yourself in any trouble. We got enough points to win the championship.
Right,
so
right.
He said just
let him win if he has to.
yeah, let him win, let him go ahead and take it, because if we run second, we got the championship. We already got the championship sealed up, so
Yeah.
just more or less finish.
Right.
So I can kind of remember Jack saying that, 'cause instead of running it on Saturday night, they had the big deal on Sunday afternoon. So Jack said it's going to be like IMCA's afternoon slickie. So,
Yeah, right.
So we just
For
told
sure.
Bob to, just here's what we got to do to win the championship. And
Right.
just go ahead and don't bend the car up or put yourself in.
Yeah. That's when you want a driver that can think about that stuff
Oh,
and
yeah.
not just gung ho.
Yeah.
I'm going to win it no matter
Yeah,
what.
yeah, that's
And-
right.
And Bob evidently followed the rules because
Bob was real good. Bob and Jack worked real good together, and he did what he knew what he had to do to get it done.
But boy, it's 69 now. That's that's when the cream kind of
Yeah,
rose to the top.
Yeah.
Because there again with Tiger Bob at the wheel, champs at the Topeka Fairgrounds, Knoxville Olympic.
Yeah.
Also that year he wins the Missouri State Fair race, compiling 46 wins.
Yeah.
46. Let me say that one more time. 46
Yeah.
wins
Unbelievable.
in one season.
Unbelievable.
And I didn't know there was anybody that was that dominating, particularly in the Kansas City area in that era, that could do anything like that. But Tiger Bob and your dad's car, you guys
Yeah,
did.
he did a real good thing. Just like I seen Bob about a year or so ago, and he was talking about that, and he just said he said the car, he was talking about the car never had no DNFs. He said the car always run.
Right.
It didn't have any DNFs. And how fantastic the car was, and how it was prepared. So it was just everything kind of fell into place.
Yeah.
And-
Can you explain to me how they won 3 championships that year? Because let's see, Olympic ran on Sunday.
Yeah.
Topeka would run on
Friday night.
Oh, that's how.
Yeah.
Okay, and Knoxville
Yeah.
on Saturday.
So we
Well,
won Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
Oh,
Well,
okay.
the other thing you got to remember, we was running
Boy, that's
we was running Wednesday night at Jeff City.
Yeah.
He was actually leading at Jeff City and
Yeah.
Boone
That-
at one time.
that's a real deal because Olympic was a short quarter.
Yeah.
And what Topeka was a half mile, but I'm sure it was a different configuration than
Yeah,
what
it was
Knoxville
all
was.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
More of a flatter racetrack.
And just from Olympic, well, of course, Olympic would be the last night, but from those half miles to that quarter mile, how did they do the gearing? I presume it was quick chains.
Yeah. 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 Yeah, you had a lot lower gear at Olympic.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And didn't make a lot of changes though.
yeah.
The car seemed to it'd work on a half mile, quarter mile. That's the amazing thing about that car. It seemed like it worked on just about any kind of racetrack.
Now was this torsion bar,
Yeah, spring front
spring
car and
front.
spring front, and torsion in the back?
torsion in the back. But I think another thing too was good about that season, and Frank could probably tell you too. The car at one time was leading in points at Boone, Iowa on Friday night. Bob liked to go up there, so we actually went up there and we was leading at the points up there. But Jack said we've got to if we're going to go for the championship at Topeka, we're going to have to stay
You got to
there.
pick which one we
Yeah,
want.
we-
And
yeah.
we was going to
And that's
Jeff
closer to
City.
home too, isn't it? Hour drive instead
Yeah.
of 2.5 or 3, whatever.
We was going to Jeff City on Wednesday night,
Yeah.
and
Wow, 4 nights a week.
running in Jeff City on Wednesday night, and
Holy smokes.
then
How'd you get any transmission work done?
well we was
I think we're a little slow that year.
well Bob was Bob was working a job,
Yeah.
everybody's working a job,
Yeah.
so in traveling probably 800 or 900 miles in a weekend.
Gosh.
And it was just short of
And everybody would go home for dinner and come back and work on the race car.
Unbelievable, yeah.
That's a lot of time was put in on that car.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of time.
It had to be 4 nights a week.
4 nights a week.
I mean, I'm surprised you didn't wear something out.
yeah,
I mean-
it was like I said,
And one thing I want to add to all this too is Carl Paul, who was the manager down at the 707 truck stop, which sponsored the car.
Mhm.
He was responsible for a lot of things. He went with us on all the races and stuff, and I think he needs a good
shout out.
A good shout out. Carl
Well,
Paul was a good friend, and
Yes.
he helped us a lot on the race car. In fact, he's the one that got the paint, the red paint for the car. That was a what was that? John Deere or something, wasn't it? It was a John Deere red.
Farmall.
He come over with a
Farmall.
5-gallon bucket of paint. Here we go. We got some red paint for the car.
Yeah.
Well,
He said two
actually,
things should be. As Carl said, two things should be red: barns and race cars. So that was Carl. He brought the paint.
Yeah.
He got us a sponsorship, and he was always there and helped. And,
Yes, he was.
And
He
I just
sure
think
was.
that's
Yeah.
just a great guy.
Yeah. Can't do it without him.
You couldn't
Well,
do it without him.
he run a midget for years,
Yeah, he had a
and he
midget.
actually won a midget championship.
Oh, really?
He
Okay.
did himself. And Carl was the one that ramrodded the deal to get the car changed over from a super to a sprint car.
Okay.
Jack already won the nationals, and Dozier did a jam up job, and that's about. He did a lot in midgets, and he was more or less hinging on retiring out of racing.
Well, that reminds me
But,
of just one little thing about at Knoxville in '67. If you'll see pictures of the car, it was a super, but it had this wraparound tin with a little back window, like a little coupe. Well, when it come in from hot laps the first night, we got looking at all the mud in that thing. We thought, boy, and that little back window, we think that's got to be holding back. And Carl said, yeah, I think you're right. So we got wrenches, and we took that piece off.
Oh,
The
really?
car really looks bare because it's only got the framework for where that piece went around the top. But it seemed like the car went faster when we took it off, and so
Little drag there.
Little drag going on. We got rid of that.
Some of the biggest names drove your dad's car, as well as some of the most sought-after wins are included in your dad's career as a car owner. You two have got to have a lot of really appreciation for what he did, and
Absolutely.
Oh yeah, I think there's
tremendous achievement.
Well, he just didn't leave us too much to add to it. You can't add. You can't add to it. Me and Frank run the Vice Grip 4X that Wolfgang won the nationals, and I went partners with my dad, and then me and my brother actually run the car for a season. But I mean, we did fair with it, and we made some World Outlaw shows. But it's hard to follow this.
Yes.
He's a hard act to follow.
He's a hard act to follow.
Especially that
That's why-
69 season.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah,
that one season, that's a career.
It's
that's-
amazing.
Yeah, so it's like there's gosh darn. I mean, me and Frank run a couple times in Knoxville. And, it's hard to just get into A main, let alone thinking about winning
Yeah,
one.
exactly.
And we ended up with some seconds. Quite a few seconds over that season. But it's just hard with those kind of cars to.
Competition.
Yeah,
It's really
competition,
tough.
To get an A main. They
Yeah.
just, they don't hand them out.
Nope.
So
Nope. You got to earn them.
that's kind of where you kind of respect it a little bit more,
Right.
from your dad's perspective, I guess.
Right. Quite an achievement.
Yeah.
Guys, let me congratulate both of you and your family on the induction of your dad into the CARB Hall of Fame for 2014.
Well,
We appreciate it. We appreciate everything
Thank you very much, and we sure do appreciate it. And like I said, we just, both of us, and I probably speak for my brother, we're just honored, and we'd like to give thanks to the new members that have been inductees, all the rest of them,
Yeah.
and all the racers that are in Kansas City. Kansas City has produced a lot of good race,
Yes, they have,
a lot of good race drivers and car owners
Okay.
have come out of Kansas City, I would say.
without a doubt.
Yeah.
Frank, you got any closing words?
Just I'd like to thank CARB for this. It's a great honor. I don't know if he was here, he'd say the same thing. And the fact that he accomplished so much, I'm just super proud.
Yeah.
I'd like to, the same thing. I'd just say that I'm really proud of my dad, and he was probably my best friend. And thank you again. I appreciate it. Appreciate everything you've done.
I think we're done.
We're done.